bombeko, yumano bungo awe ade. Telino kibe, kubano ko bombeko, yumano bungo awe ade. Honke honke, honke riro, honke jombe, jombe riro. Honke honke, honke riro, honke jombe, jombe riro.
Good day, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we embark on an unforgettable adventure to one of the most fascinating destinations in Southeast Asia, the legendary Spice Islands of Indonesia. Once at the very heart of the global spice trade, these remote islands drew explorers and merchants from across the world, all in search of treasures that changed the course of history. Our journey begins on the beautiful island of Yamdena, where we'll step into the traditional village of Tumbur. Here, ancient customs are still alive, warm smiles greet every visitor, and generations of culture continue to flourish amid breathtaking natural beauty. From there, we'll sail across the sparkling waters of the Banda Sea to the historic island of Banda Neira, a place forever linked to the world's spice trade. Surrounded by crystal-clear seas and dramatic volcanic landscapes, Banda Neira became famous for its precious nutmeg, one of the rarest and most valuable spices in the world during the 16th and 17th centuries. Today, its rich history, colonial architecture, and fragrant spice plantations make it one of Indonesia's most remarkable hidden gems. From vibrant cultural traditions to breathtaking island scenery and centuries of extraordinary history, this journey promises unforgettable moments at every stop. So sit back, relax, and join us as we uncover the beauty, history, and timeless spirit of Indonesia's magnificent Spice Islands. After sailing north from Darwin, Australia, the silhouette of Yamdena Island slowly appears on the horizon. With every passing mile, the excitement grows as we prepare to set foot on one of the most remote and culturally rich islands in the Maluku region. Before we can reach the shore, we board a tender, a small boat that carries us from our ship across the calm turquoise waters. The gentle sea breeze, the sound of the waves, and the lush green coastline ahead make the short ride feel like the beginning of an unforgettable adventure. As we draw closer to Yamdena, our local guides warmly welcome us aboard and invite us to visit the traditional village of Tumbur, a community renowned for its rich heritage, remarkable wood carvings, and enduring customs that have been passed down through generations. The moment we arrive, we're met with an unforgettable sight. The villagers gather to welcome us with a vibrant traditional ceremony filled with rhythmic music, joyful dancing, and genuine smiles. Before we even step into the village, we are embraced not as strangers but as honored guests. It's a heartfelt welcome that offers a beautiful first glimpse into the warmth, hospitality, and living traditions of the people of Tumbur. As the echoes of the welcoming drums slowly fade into the distance, we begin our journey through the heart of Tumbur village, a peaceful community on Yamdena Island in Indonesia's beautiful Tanimbar Islands. Home to roughly 1 to 1,500 people, this is a place where tradition is not displayed for visitors. It is simply a way of life, carefully preserved from one generation to the next. The story of Tumbur stretches back hundreds of years. Like many villages across the Tanimbar Islands, it was founded by ancestral clans who settled along the coast, where the sea provided food and the fertile land offered everything needed to build a thriving community. Even today, the villagers maintain a deep connection with their ancestors through traditional ceremonies, music, dance, and the customs that continue to shape daily life. As we wander deeper into the heart of Tumbur village, we're invited into one of the local schools, a simple yet unforgettable moment that reveals the warmth of this remarkable community. With every refreshing sip, we don't just taste the freshness of the island, we experience the generosity, simplicity, and genuine spirit of Tumbur. Foreign travelers are incredibly rare here. Laughter echoes through the school as we spend time with the students, sharing smiles that need no common language. It's a beautiful reminder that kindness and curiosity can connect people from completely different worlds. Before we continue our journey, the villagers surprise us with one final gesture of hospitality. A young local and skillfully cuts down fresh coconuts straight from the tree. Under the tropical sun, the cool, sweet coconut water is exactly what we need. With every refreshing sip, we don't just taste the freshness of the island, we experience the generosity, simplicity, and genuine spirit of Tumbur, a village where every welcome comes straight from the heart. As we return to the ship, the adventure slows to a gentle rhythm. The sea is calm, the breeze is warm, and the breathtaking panorama of Indonesia's legendary Spice Islands unfolds around us. For a while, there is nothing to do but stand on the deck, breathe in the salty air, and admire a landscape that has captivated explorers, merchants, and adventurers for centuries. Our voyage now takes us north toward the historic island of Banda Neira, the jewel of the Spice Islands, once the most sought after destination on Earth. Every nautical mile brings us closer to an island whose story changed the course of world history. Then, on the horizon, a timeless tradition comes to life. Cutting elegantly through the crystal blue water are two long, narrow wooden canoes. Their paddlers move as one, each stroke perfectly synchronized, guiding the boats effortlessly across the sea. They are the legendary Kora Kora welcome canoes, an enduring symbol of Maluku's rich maritime heritage. For generations, Kora Kora canoes carried warriors, traders, and villagers across these waters. Today, they carry something even more meaningful, a heartfelt welcome. As they escort our ship toward Banda Neira, we are greeted not just as visitors, but as honored guests embraced by a tradition that has endured for centuries. With the majestic volcanic peaks of Banda rising from the sea and the rhythmic paddling echoing across the water, time seems to stand still. This is more than an arrival, it is the beginning of a journey into one of the world's most fascinating islands, where every shoreline whispers stories of spices, exploration, and history that shaped the world. And as the Kora Kora leads the way, we know that something truly unforgettable awaits beyond the harbor. As we step ashore on Banda Neira, it feels as though we are stepping into a place where history and everyday life exist side by side. From the port, we begin our walk into the heart of the village, following the narrow streets between colorful homes, small shops, local markets, and the waterfront. The pace of life here feels wonderfully unhurried. People are going about their daily routines, fishermen prepare their boats for the next journey out to sea, vendors arrange their goods at the market. Children play along the streets while families gather around their homes, greeting us with warm smiles as we pass. At first glance, Banda Neira might seem like a quiet tropical island in the middle of the Banda Sea. But beneath this peaceful atmosphere lies a remarkable story. A story that once made this tiny island one of the most valuable places on Earth. For centuries, the Banda Islands were one of the only places in the world where nutmeg and mace naturally grew. These precious spices were highly prized in Europe and Asia, used not only for flavoring food, but also in medicine and for their many other perceived benefits. And so, merchants began traveling enormous distances across the oceans to reach these remote islands. Arab, Indian, Chinese, and later European traders came here in search of the precious spices. Banda Neira became an important center of the global spice trade, connecting this tiny corner of Indonesia with markets and empires thousands of kilometers away. But the wealth created by the spice trade also brought conflict. In the early 17th century, the Dutch East India Company, known as the VOC, arrived with ambitions to control the spice trade. Their goal was simple: to control the production and trade of nutmeg and mace and establish a monopoly over these precious commodities. The Dutch built fortifications across the Banda Islands, including Fort Belgica and Fort Nassau, whose remains still stand as powerful reminders of that turbulent period. As we walk through Banda Neira today, it is remarkable to realize that these quiet streets were once at the center of a struggle involving powerful European empires. Ships arrived here from distant lands, carrying goods, soldiers, merchants, and dreams of fortune. The harbor that we see today was once part of a much larger network of global trade. And yet, despite everything that happened here, Banda Neira has retained a strong sense of community. Walking through the village, the grand events of history seem to fade into the background. What we see instead is everyday life: people working, children going to school, fishermen returning from the sea, and neighbors sharing conversations beneath the tropical sun. We pass old colonial buildings standing alongside local houses, creating a fascinating mixture of Indonesian and European influences. Some buildings have weathered walls and faded colors, quietly carrying the marks of centuries gone by. Then there is the sea. Surrounding Banda Neira, the deep blue waters of the Banda Sea have always been both a source of life and a gateway to the outside world. The same waters that once carried spice traders and colonial ships now carry fishing boats, local ferries, and travelers like us. And somewhere beyond the village, the volcanic landscape rises dramatically above the island, a reminder that Banda Neira is part of a powerful volcanic world shaped by fire, ocean, and time. As we continue our walk through the market and residential streets, we begin to understand that the real story of Banda Neira isn't only found inside its forts or historic buildings. It lives in the people, it lives in the fishermen who still depend on the sea, in the vendors at the market, in the families who have called these islands home for generations, and in the traditions that continue to be passed from one generation to the next. Today, the island is peaceful. The sounds of the market and the sea have replaced the noise of colonial ships and battles. Yet the legacy of the spice trade remains everywhere: in the trees, in the old buildings, in the harbor, and even in the name of this place. Banda Neira may be small in size, but its history reaches far beyond these shores. Once the world came here searching for a spice more valuable than gold. Today, we come for something different: to experience its beauty, meet its people, and walk through the living history of an island that played an extraordinary role in shaping the world. And as we continue deeper into Banda Neira, we realize that this isn't simply a visit to a tropical island. It is a journey through time, where the past is never far away, and where every street, every harbor, and every smile seems to tell a story. As the afternoon slowly began to fade, we arrived at one of the most extraordinary places on Banda Neira, Fort Belgica. High above the island, its massive stone walls stood beneath the tropical sky, overlooking the sea that once carried ships from distant lands in search of one precious treasure: nutmeg. But before we explored the fortress, we were given a very special welcome. Waiting for us were young performers from the local community, dressed in traditional costumes and ready to share a part of Banda's living heritage. The music began, and then the dancers appeared. Their movements were powerful, deliberate, and full of energy. This is Tari Chakalili, the traditional warrior dance of Maluku, presents courage, strength, and the spirit of the warrior. Traditionally associated with warriors preparing for battle or returning from battle, the dance carries the memory of a time when communities depended on bravery and unity for their survival. The dancers moved with shields and traditional weapons, their steps following the rhythm of the music, and watching them perform here, beside the ancient walls of Fort Belgica, created an unforgettable scene. Because this fortress was built during a time when Banda Neira stood at the center of a struggle between powerful empires. 4 centuries ago, nutmeg was worth an extraordinary fortune. And here, on these small islands in the Banda Sea, nutmeg grew naturally. The Dutch East India Company, the VOC, wanted to control this treasure. What followed was a turbulent and tragic chapter in Banda's history. In the early 17th century, the Dutch fought to establish a monopoly over the spice trade. Fort Belgica became part of that system of control, watching over the harbor and the surrounding islands. The history of Banda is therefore not simply a story about spices, it is also a story about power, resistance, loss, and survival. The events of 1621 brought devastating consequences for the indigenous Bandanese population, as the Dutch violently imposed their control over the islands and the nutmeg trade. Today, the fortress remains as a silent witness to that history, but the story of Banda did not end there, because Banda's culture survived, and one of the most beautiful ways that culture continues to live is through its traditions. The music changed, the energy softened, and the performers introduced us to another traditional dance, Tari Petik Pala, the nutmeg picking dance. If Kakalili tells the story of courage and the warrior spirit, Petik Pala tells the story of the land. The movements represent the harvesting of nutmeg, the spice that shaped the destiny of these islands. Imagine generations of Bandanese climbing among the nutmeg trees, carefully gathering the precious fruit that made their homeland famous across the world. For the people of Banda, nutmeg is more than a commodity, it is part of their history, their landscape, and their identity. And now, watching young people perform the nutmeg picking dance in front of Fort Belgica, something becomes clear. The past may have left scars, but the culture has endured. The fortress was built to control the spice. The ships came to take the spice, empires fought over the spice, but the traditions belong to the people, and today these young performers are carrying those traditions forward. Standing inside the walls of Fort Belgica, surrounded by the sound of traditional music, it was impossible not to think about how much history has passed through this small island. The sea that surrounds Banda Neira once carried merchants, soldiers, and explorers from across the world. Today, it carries visitors like us, arriving not in search of conquest or fortune, but in search of understanding. As the sun begins to sink beneath the horizon, casting a golden glow across Banda Neira, something magical happens. We are invited to join the locals in a final dance, surrounded by warm smiles, gentle laughter, and the rhythm of the island. A guitar begins to play, followed by the soft beat of percussion, and then a beautiful voice rises into the evening air. For a moment, time seems to slow down. Here, on this small island in the heart of the Banda Sea, music needs no translation. The rhythm brings us together, strangers become friends, and the sunset becomes a memory we know we will carry long after we leave. Banda Neira is more than just an island of nutmeg, history, and breathtaking scenery. It is a place of stories, stories of spice traders, sailors, conflict, resilience, and generations of people who have called these islands home. And as darkness slowly falls over the sea, we realize that perhaps the most precious part of our journey was not the places we visited, but the people who welcomed us along the way. The music continues, the laughter fades into the evening breeze, and as we say goodbye to Banda Neira, one thing is certain, this beautiful island has left us with memories that will stay with us forever. Until we meet again, Banda Neira, thank you for the memories.
Dari mana datangnya limpah, dari gunung turun ke kali. Dari mana datangnya cinta, dari mata turun ke hati. Di sana gunung, di sini gunung, tengah-tengah bunga melati. Di sana bingung, di sini bingung, dua-dua teman sejati. Rasa sayangnya, rasa sayang-sayangnya, lihat dari jauh. Rasa sayang-sayangnya, rasa sayangnya, rasa sayang-sayangnya, lihat dari jauh. Rasa sayang-sayangnya, rasa sayangnya, rasa sayang-sayangnya, lihat dari jauh. Rasa sayang-sayangnya. Jalan-jalan ke Surabaya, jangan lupa membeli pita. Jangan suka memandang saya, nanti bisa sakit mata kalau